I'm about to be freaking homeless and I have no idea what I'm gonna do.
You guys peep this. This is how I know Canada is officially going downhill. $16.97 for deodorant.
And we rented it for $1,500 for the first 5 years we lived here. We're moving now, and I recommended this place to a friend of mine who was looking for a rental. I said, oh, it'll probably be on the market soon. Give them a call. She called them, and they are renting it for $2,900.
Mic check. This is the Midwest Perspective. And after a long hiatus, your corn-loving fan is back. And in today's video, I want to talk about this cost of living crisis, which only seems to be getting crazier and crazier as we go through to the end of 2024. I've got some banger content lined up for this video. I really appreciate all of my subscribers that may be watching this now that I'm back. For the 2 or 1% of you that don't subscribe, please consider it. But let's hop right on in.
You guys peep this. This is how I know Canada is officially going downhill. $16.97 for deodorant. Yeah, we're finished.
So this is just a quick one, but holy moly, 16 bucks for deodorant in Canada, even with, Canadian buckaroo conversion, you're talking 13 bucks a stick. Insanity.
How are we supposed to buy a house when my rent is going up another $195 a month? It has gone up $720 in 4 years for the same place that I live in. $8,640 a year more for the same place I lived in 4 years ago. I'm sorry, property taxes are not going up that much that landlords are charging that much more. We have to stop blaming the economy, the government, the president. It is greedy people taking more profits in. When people tell you, just move somewhere else, why would I move to another state that's cheaper? Why should I have to uproot my family, lose my career, just to afford to live somewhere? You're implying people who live in where I live now don't deserve a fair shot at cost of living. And places with cheaper rent pay lower salaries. That's how this whole thing works for the most part. And my girlfriend's a teacher. Like, if she moves to a state with a cheaper cost of living, she might not even have a pension or her benefits anymore. Instead of telling the middle class to keep, looking somewhere cheaper, why don't you all align together and get people out of control that are doing this to us? You are always closer to being homeless than you are to being rich. Everyone just assumes one day they're going to get rich. And that's why they don't stand up for people just like them in the struggle right now. If not for the raise I got 4 years ago, I would be totally screwed. I don't even want a handout or help. I just want things to not be so crazy expensive every year. Go buy pizza from where I work. Go buy my merchandise. I don't know. Not a handout, just advertising.
I don't know why I feel the need to keep bringing up the cost of living, but here we go. I'm cleaning the rental we've lived in for the last 6 years. Our daughter was almost born here. Our son was literally born in this house. And we rented it for $1,500 for the first 5 years we lived here. We had the sweetest landlords. They owned a few properties. They just weren't trying to gouge anybody. It's a 4-bed, 2-bath house on 5 acres. We've got a fenced-in backyard. It was a great place for us to land until we could find our own place. And after they sold it last year to a different couple, they raised our rent $400 a month. So we were up to $1,900. So that scooted our butts in gear to just finally find the place that we're looking for. Well, we found it and we're moving now, and I recommended this place to a friend of mine who was looking for a rental. I said, oh, it'll probably be on the market soon. Give them a call. She called them, and they are renting it for $2,900. This place needs completely updated. This bathroom that, oh my gosh, I'm so dirty, we've been using, I think it needs gutted. There's some mold I can't get rid of. All of the baseboard heat is at least 30 years old. Nothing's been touched in decades. It completely needs updated. $2,900 a month. We are not in a metropolitan area. This is a very rural area. Yes, it has some acreage, but a lot of that acreage is those new owners' business. They have a huge shop down the road, and there's constantly utility trucks driving back and forth in front of the house. The basement gets water in it every time it rains. The carpet down there is moldy. $2,900 a month, and in the winter, the propane is $400 a month. If your housing expense is supposed to be 30% of your income, what is that? You need to make $10,000 a month to live in this? In this? What is happening?
The scariest thing I think you can hear as a tenant is that there's new ownership, especially when it comes to a unit that's been rented for long periods of time. I've never had a good experience. If you're telling me a landlord's coming in and they sold the unit to a new person, you know you're getting shafted the next year. Guaranteed 10% increase plus, and it's just absolute insanity. because that's the name of the game, right? If you're buying a property, you're buying it because, quote, the rents are below market. So as a renter, you're just completely fried every time, like without fail. So seeing it double in the span of, let's say, 5 years seems a little bit excessive in market. But yeah, getting a new landlord is never the right move. The second you hear that, especially if it's a corporate landlord, just run for the hills. It's hard to find single homeowner in the sense that they don't own multiple properties or they don't do it as a job, but you can find those. They are gems. They're the best landlords most times. They're responsive and they care about their property. So yeah, it's brutal out there.
Some Floridians tell us they're not looking back as they head north on I-95 in search of a new home state. Some say they're looking for a better quality of life, and others say it's a more affordable one.
So it was being flooded by people from elsewhere, and I thought that the vibe was a little bit different than it had been in the past. And I just wanted something different for our family.
New Census Bureau data shows as New Yorkers and Californians move in, among other out-of-staters, a number of Floridians are moving out. You traded in Florida for where?
Mount Pleasant, South Carolina.
According to Business Insider, U.S. Census Bureau numbers show between the years 2021 and 2022, nearly 739,000 people moved in, and nearly 490,000 residents moved out.
Essentially double our square footage.
That includes young Florida families. Mom worked as a bartender, dad is special effects designer. In search of family, better finances, and desired schools.
That's really what forced our hand to sell our house in Florida and pack up.
The pattern all starts here in Florida.
If you make $200,000 or less, our area is challenging. It's challenging to live in our area, and it sounds absolutely bananas coming out of my mouth, but that puts you in an extremely different income bracket to the states just north of us or within a short drive of us.
So what do realtors just north and west of us say in North Carolina?
How many Floridians are you talking to?
More so now than I'd say 3 or 4 years ago.
South Carolina.
Seem to be a hot spot for Floridians. What I hear mostly is just quality of life issues.
To the Georgia-Carolina line.
At closing, I mean, all she talked about was just insurance.
Into Georgia.
It's always like a wow moment of, hey, this house in Florida would be $200,000 more just for a little starter home.
Even to Alabama.
I have heard that they're sad about the idea of not being able to see the beach, but because of the affordability, they've had to work such longer hours. The hope is that they're going to move here, have a better life.
Realtors also mentioned those who may have dipped their toes in the Florida water.
Some of them moved to Florida kind of looking for something different, maybe from north, and have come sort of halfway back up.
We call those halfway backers.
Well, the dust continues to settle. It's a big move if you've dedicated decades of your life to living somewhere to uproot. What would you tell other Floridians?
It was a really positive experience, to be honest with you. A little scary at first, 40 years in Florida.
The grass isn't always greener. We recently spoke to Leanne McLaren, who went to the Carolinas and back.
Really think about it before you do it, because I kind of did it on a whim, and now buying my house back would be double.
I will say this, the winners in the South, based on all of these migration patterns, really are just the homeowners. Everyone else is a loser. If you are a renter in the South and you see all these people moving in, your home prices are going up, your rent prices are going up, the quality of everything is either going down and or becoming way more expensive. It is just brutal to live down in the South right now, especially in these states like Texas, like Florida, which are so popular and seeing massive influx. You have the people that are just honest working blue collar workers that are basically getting priced out of their own state and having to go to South Carolina, having to go to Louisiana, having to go to states where things are just a lot cheaper. And I think that the very end of that clip was super poignant, right? Sold your home, go to a new state, realize you don't like it, come back, but now the home prices have doubled. I will say my personal thoughts on Florida as a real estate perspective, not that any of you would care, is that those home insurance prices are going to completely wreck the real estate market in a lot of states down south over the next 10 to 15 years. People can only afford so many home insurance rate increases of 20, 30, 40% per year, especially the elderly that are sitting on fixed income. It becomes a breaking point and it's going to get wild down there in the South. So out here in the Midwest, things are looking pretty boring but stable. So, well, that's the end of the video. So if you liked it, consider liking. If you want to drop a comment, I read every single one. And if you really liked it, drop a subscription. I do videos like this every few days and I'm back in business. I've got other content here you feel free to check out. Hope you have a good rest of the day. Peace.